you that every 3 to 5 years, we take time to stop, reprioritize, make sure we're still on the right track and accomplishing things that make sense. So you'll see these lists on all 13 facilities, and our subcommittees, our steering group, the Board of Education, we've all been through and presented these at our public hearings as well of what the needs are for each location. The stars up here are, I put those on here for this evening. When I go to the plan, it's really what some of the planning ideas are solving, with it. And these planning ideas, again, do not mean that all of them have to happen at the same time or none of them. It'll be based on the available funding and the overall district's approach to how they want to handle it across the board. So we have to have flexibility in how we solve the problems, because we may not be able to solve them all at one time at one location. That's the beauty of the roadmap that the master plan gives you. You can make decisions and know exactly where you're at each facility. When we look at the Early Childhood Center, which is the existing building now, I mentioned the building is the facility and then the site. We look at a site, and there's a lot of criteria on a site that's owned by the district of where can we put an addition. It's not always where we'd like the addition to be. We either don't own the property, we don't have enough property, there's setbacks, there's parking requirements, there's a lot of design criteria we have to go through before we can say this is a good location for a potential expansion to allow that repurposing to happen, okay? So again, but we're identifying those zones so we can see how well and how much we can accomplish with it. In this particular case, we don't have a lot of choices. If we were going to expand the Early Childhood Center, we feel this is the prime location to do that. So when we go internal in the plan, the existing building sits here. We've identified a zone which has a size to it because property has limits. And now we know programmatically how much space do we have to work with, and what of our needs will fit into that space and be in the right proximity to where we need it, be in the right capacity for what it needs to do. So we're creating highest and best use for our most expensive part of a project, which would be the new facility. These other colors that we're looking at are the repurposing that I spoke about. Our dark green is our expansion space. In this case, the planning option looks at adding 3 classrooms, relocating space for, in this case, parents as teachers, providing ADA accessible restrooms to support the larger population that's allowed by the expansion, creating a secure entry by relocating some of the administrative functions over to the front door and creating a secure vestibule. All those are top priority needs on the list for Early Childhood Center. We accomplish that by this expansion, and then that allows us in the light green areas to come back with some of the elements that have been relocated and repurpose that space, accomplishing other sub needs within our list. So that's organizationally how we look at a plan. All these colors on here do not represent all the items on that list I showed you up front. It's a portion of those. Even during the second phase, when we might implement part or all of this solution, we'll keep track of the other ones that aren't, reprioritize those. So if a funding mechanism comes along again, what's the next priorities? But by identifying and keep identifying those needs, we don't make mistakes by building something one year and waiting, and then the next year going, boy, I wish we would have built it like this because there's the need we really have now. We're always looking out for what those needs are to keep those fresh. So before we would ever dig a hole in the ground, we have a real good idea of what the current needs are, what the past needs are, and what our future needs are, so that we can build and be good stewards with every dollar that we spend. Now, you're going to see in some of these, we begin to develop a potential solution and start to put together, well, this represents about 6,000 square feet of expansion space, about 4,000 square feet of renovation space, and we start to put cost magnitudes, to that, just to give the board a general idea of investment where's a magnitude across the district of what we need to spend, on either through annual capital improvements or some other funding mechanism. It's important to have those dollar values, with that. Again, these are ranges, and these plans show a variety of potential solutions, not intended to be all implemented at once, but can be implemented in the best order that makes sense for that. But again, we're not building anything right now. We're just showing them what the potentials are based on the high priority needs and what some potential solutions are and values associated with it. Gives them the tools to make good decisions in the future. So that's our real life example. We're going to break out into the break